Blue Jays, that's the first of 4 here on MMS. They took 1 apiece in that double header yesterday. Clevenger and the Padres against the Guardians. I was reading something about how he was, he got all emotional or something, or he was excited to be back in Cleveland, and I don't know.
Cute.
He probably got a nice, what?
I said he's cute.
He probably got a nice response from the Cleveland fans. Weren't he and his wife, though, getting like boxes of pot at their house back in the day?
Boxes? No, that wasn't him.
That wasn't him? I thought that was somebody else. Or I thought that was him.
No, I don't think so.
How would you get?
I don't know.
You can get boxes of pot.
Some local, local athlete was getting shipments of pot to his house, and they busted him, I thought.
It was.
So you can't get that.
That was a while ago. Who was that guy?
It was an Indians player, wasn't it?
Who was the Browns player that kept getting tested for weed over and over again?
That was Josh Gordon.
J.O.
Oh, it wasn't him?
No. I don't remember who it was, but...
I'm trying to color on my cup, and
Chris
I just spilled all
Perez.
over me.
That was the guy.
Chris Perez with the
Yeah,
Indians?
yeah.
Was he the dude with the decks of cards for calf muscles? Remember that dude?
Yeah, that was...
He was only here for a cup of coffee when Nicky the Swish was here.
That was
guy.
Mike Aviles.
Mike Aviles, okay.
Because him and I have... Because we met him on the show that day.
Yeah.
And then we went out that night to that Luke Bryan thing, and him and I talked for like an hour.
Wow. About his calves?
Pretty much. I was just like, let me see him again.
Okay. He raises
No, it was
cattle.
it was right as I was going through like splitting up with my wife, and he was going through the same thing, like about the same time. So we just
Lonely Hearts Club.
having some drinks, talking about moving on.
Talking about these dumb bitches that didn't know what they had when it was right in front of them.
Amen.
Exactly.
Chris Perez isn't even in the game anymore, is he?
I don't think so.
He did like 1 season with us, 1 season with LA, and then he was done. So what they're trying to tell you is marijuana, not a performance-enhancing drug.
Depending on what the performance is.
If you're a performer, if you're in entertainment, it might work out. John Mayer tonight in Pittsburgh, right?
Might be high. I don't know if he does.
Is John Mayer high when he's up there? Look at this guy play.
He do a pot.
He plays like, is he doing a pot before he gets up there? Did he took a doobie before he got on stage?
Mary, what would you do if Amber Heard also banged John Mayer?
Well, I can't do anything.
He had to testify.
What would you do? What was she
What
going
do you
to
mean,
do?
what would I do?
Yeah.
Doesn't affect my life at all.
Get mad?
I don't know. I feel like she's possessive over John Mayer. more than-
Possessive? I've never even met the guy.
Not physically. I'm just saying mentally. That's
I
like
have.
your dude.
You've met
Amber
John
Heard
Mayer?
must be a wildcat in the sack, though.
Yeah.
They usually are.
For who usually are?
The crazy
Women like
ones.
that?
Yeah, what I'm saying is you have to put up with something. Listen, you're not having sex on the first date. Let's assume that, right? Let's assume that. She's getting to know Johnny Depp or whatever. And I don't want to go back into this well. I'm just thinking as you mentioned her name, that you have to put in a little bit of time to find out if they are. There are plenty of psycho-ish girls who don't know what they're doing in the sack. So this whole like stereotype of like, guys like him because they're so good that they put up with the crazy. There is some of that, but you got to wade through that stuff to find out if they are.
I guess.
That's all I'm saying.
Unless she is sleeping around.
Putting the cart before the horse. Now, if you find out she is, then you got a decision to make.
Is this worth it?
Yeah. Is this worth it?
Most of the guys are like, yeah.
I'm not one of those guys, man. I'm like, there are a lot of people out there.
But
I'll
mind-blowing
I'll
sex.
find somebody who's not going to try to stab me in my kitchen.
Right.
Right.
You know what I mean?
There's plenty of people that are nice people and also good at sex.
Yes, correct.
But they're
I don't
It's not
subscribe
one
to
or the
crazy
other.
thing.
No, it's not one or the other.
It's not. Yeah.
I've met a lot of dudes that they tell me about. I've heard both sides. Like I've been friends with the dude and I've been friends with the girl, and they'll tell me both sides. And the girl will complain about he does nothing in bed. He does nothing for me. And then I'll talk to the guy, not saying that I talk to the girl, and she'd be like, "Oh my God, she
She
crazy."
talks to you.
The girl talks to me, but I don't let the guy know that the girl
He's
talks to
getting
me.
intel from both sides.
Yeah, and so the guy
He's a
like,
double
He's like,
agent.
she's a freak. She just does everything, and she'll hit me, and I'll just let it go because I know I'm getting some later. I'm just like, wow, she thinks nothing of you. She thinks nothing of you.
No, but here's the thing also. Let's say you're having a great time in the sack, right? Let's say you put in an hour.
Jeez, that's too much time.
Is
An
it?
hour?
Okay, listen.
No one's having fun.
No, what I'm saying is if the girl is putting on a show and you're putting on a show,
I guess.
it's the old Chris Rock bit, right? Guys have to pull all their tricks out because they don't know if there's going to be a repeat performance.
Right.
Girls can dole it out. So all the stuff we know, we pull out in that hour. But then there are a lot of hours in between where you have to put up with how this person is. And it just doesn't seem to be worth it to me.
Okay.
I'm talking about crazy dudes, too. Girls and crazy dudes.
Is it, though? Because if you think about people working 40 hours a week, maybe they're on opposite schedules, they're really only seeing each other 2 or 3 hours a night in between dinner and bed, and then one of those hours is sex?
Okay, but what I'm saying is...
That's a 2-to-1 ratio. That's not that bad.
But in that situation, you're not how you describe it, it's not a problem if they're crazy because you're not spending much time with them.
Right.
Yes,
I'm
and
talking about
usually-
people who are like, you're spending a lot of time with them and you're constantly like, oh
Why
my
do you
God,
think so
this
many people
person.
got divorced during the pandemic? Yeah. Because they had to spend 40 hours
Well,
a week with
but
their
that's
spouses.
that's not because somebody was like psychotic. Those were like extenuating circumstances. But yeah, people found out how
Like, oh, I don't even like you.
well they really got along. That's a weird thing to me too.
Well, I don't think that it is. Like,
Really?
legitimately,
You like your boyfriend.
yes.
So if you had to be around him all the time, it would be weird. You'd get on each other's nerves. But
Yes.
these people that are like, "Oh, we found out we didn't like each other." It's like, "How? What?"
Well, if you go from seeing someone 20 hours a week to all day, every day, you're going to see some things that maybe you didn't see before.
Granted. But I'm talking about people that go, "We found out we didn't like each other."
Maybe they were only spending 3 hours a day and 1 hour of sex.
But you still like like
Maybe you like the
like
sex.
my wife.
Yeah, that's good for you.
Yeah, but let's ask Gwen.
Please don't. Please don't ask her. Howie Mandel was freaked out by the Dave Chappelle thing. He didn't want to go on stage anymore.
So it wasn't all bad.
What's Howie Mandel going to say that's going to get him attacked? Isn't he super vanilla?
Dave
I've never
Chappelle
seen
didn't
his.
say anything to get him attacked.
But I'm saying Dave Chappelle has a reputation of pushing buttons and speaking the truth. What's Howie Mandel doing?
He's still a comedian. There's a lot of comedians who are like, look, these are not people jumping up on stage because they have a specific problem. They're jumping on stage because that's kind of in the bloodstream now.
Yeah.
And we have a portion of the country who thinks that whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it, is totally
Just do it.
fine, totally cool.
My particular issue was, 40 years in the business, my biggest fear was 40 years ago was not getting a laugh, was somebody not liking what I said, was maybe somebody being offended and confronting me outside and going, that joke was really offensive. And then cancel culture came along. And then it was like, oh my God, if somebody doesn't like your joke or you overstepped a line, you could lose your career. And then after the Academy Awards, I said, this is violence triggers violence. And this is one step that kind of opens a door and triggers somebody that if they don't like what you're saying or they're offended by what you're saying, it's kind of okay because it's been done to be violent. And that's what my fear was. And then watching what happened to Dave confirmed my fear. And I turned to my wife. I was watching it kind of live on Twitter. And I turned to my wife and I said, I don't want to go on stage. I'm really afraid.
I am so sick of people saying, if you say something that people don't like, you get canceled. That is not happening. Tell me the person that has been canceled for saying something that people didn't like. Because Dave Chappelle is a very controversial guy, said a lot of stuff that people don't like, and he's selling out arenas.
But he's too big, though.
No. Tell me the person that has said this. Shane Gillis. He got fired from SNL for saying things that people didn't like, and now he is selling out shows and getting millions of views on his YouTube special. Like, the dude's doing just fine.
Right.
There's nobody that's canceled for what they're saying.
But here's the thing, though. I think a guy like Shane Gillis, he's playing to a specific kind of audience. Now, it might not be the one he wanted, but you will find a lot
The
of
one he got.
You will find a lot of sucker in the group of people like, yeah, man. So if you want to play to that crowd, you can do all kinds of shows that you want. Howie Mandel, I think, is talking about like people who have to go away for a while. Louis C.K. had to go away
But
for a while.
that was not for what he said. That was for his actions.
Well, they're talking
That's different.
But he's talking about. I think he's talking about. I take your point, but he's talking about people who like say something, and they kind of have to go away for a while.
But
Alan-
I'm trying to say, who is that person that had to go away for what they said?
Bill makes a good point because I don't know that there are any people who got canceled for
What they
specific
said.
words, not
Yeah.
actions.
I think the closest one you can think of is Kathy Griffin.
With the
But
Trump head.
she even
the
took
Trump
a
head.
picture. That was physical.
Right.
That's an action.
There's not a bit that I can think of in somebody's comedy special where they're like, well, he's done or she's done.
Well, also Howie Mandel. I don't know how much stand up he does anymore. I think he does Vegas or whatever. But he's got a brand new show on Netflix, like a game show called BS. That's like one of their top 10 shows now. And Deal or No Deal. So Howie Mandel is clearly doing more television. So I think in his mind, he's thinking, I don't want to lose TV gigs
Yes.
because of stuff.
That I understand.
Yeah, I think for a guy like him, he can afford to not do stand up.
Right.
But, you know,
Yeah, I just can't think of anybody that has said something so controversial that they're like, well, no one's going to see that. And maybe someone can name someone, but I can't think of anybody.
what about people with latex allergies and when he pulls that surgical glove over his head?
How dare you?
Okay, Brian Kenny just texted me Kramer.
Michael Richards.
Okay, he
But
said a racial
The
slur.
N-word, yeah.
but that was
that's-
also 15 years
That was
ago.
pre-cancel
and that's
culture, yeah.
Pre-cancel culture.
Yep.
And he also was on Curb after that.
To Brian's point, though, he lost everything he had as far as work goes. Not that he was working like crazy, but you didn't see him out and about.
But what work was he doing? He was
Stand up.
He
had to
wasn't
go and
touring.
apologize.
But he was doing that because he was bored. He's
Yeah.
got Seinfeld syndication money.
Yeah,
I mean,
he wasn't touring as a stand-up. He was trying to learn to do stand-up.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't like Kramer or Michael Richards wasn't doing stand-up until like the early 2000s.
he got bored.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm doing stand-up tonight.
Hey, where?
High and Dry. That's in Tremont, the High and Dry Comedy Hour with Bill Squire. It's free. It starts at 8 p.m. Come check it out. There's a new episode of The Bill Squire Show. You can check that out on the iHeartRadio app. No talkback button for my show. I don't have to hear what you have to say.
Keep your stupid opinions to yourself.
And then follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Bill Squire.
Mary Lynn?
I'm also doing stand up tonight at the Bill Squire High and Dry Comedy Hour. So if you want to get a little ACS twofer,
It's a twofer.
come out to that. And then Mary Santora Comedy on Twitter and Instagram.
Oh, boy. Poundcake?
Radio Cody B, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, latest Poundcake podcast at AlanCoxShow.com.
All right, cool.